Thank you very much for being so many attending our conference in insurance. We know that is really a request that you have put through our trade union, and we are glad to provide you with information in this respect. What I would like to underline is whenever it comes to deal with insurance and health, we don't play electoral campaign. We don't play, we want to get people becoming member of a trade union. Health is something that is so serious to be dealt with that we really work together, putting together all possible effort in order to provide you with the best possible assistance. You all know that whenever it comes to insurance, it's important to have a lot of people coming in order to have the guarantee to be covered by the insurance, is also to have the leverage towards the insurance company for getting the best possible results. We don't want you to be by yourself whenever you are confronted with a concern. And I already answered to the question, do we really need an insurance? The answer is yes. Our system is good, but not that good that you could discover whenever you are confronted with serious health concern. We will go through all possible options because there is not one insurance that is best or better than the rest. It depends on your situation, on what you want to cover, your age. And Jean-Pierre, that is our attended colleague, we will explain you all the possible options in order to give you the possibility to choose and to do for the best for you and for your family. After the conference, we will be also glad to deal with your specific question. There are questions that cannot be dealt officially in a conference like this because they are also related with private life and personal data. But Jean-Pierre and other colleagues will be with us in order to deal with your personal concerns. And finally, I know that the question will be raised. Yes, the slides will be shared. And yes, the conference is recorded. You will find the conference on our YouTube channel, and you could consult yourself, or other colleagues that cannot be with us today can get access to that. I don't want to be too long, so I leave the floor to Jean-Pierre AMOND, who is the best expert concerning insurance, working for the CEPS. CEPS is an association of retired colleagues, and is provide now all the information for all possible options that are available to you. Thank you, Jean-Pierre.
Thank you very much, Cristiano, for your introduction. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this presentation on understanding complementary health insurances. This is not an easy topic, as Cristiano mentioned, but I will try to be as clear as I can and to make myself understood. Why is it so important to talk about, well, health insurances? Because medical cares are very expensive and their costs are rising up over the years. We all know that if we go to our doctor today, we've got to pay more than what we had to pay last year. And on top of that, if you say to your doctor that you are a EU official, you will probably have to pay more than just a normal patient. Then, on the other hand, JSIS is a very good system, but it doesn't reimburse everything. And I will show you in a few slides that the system is under pressure, under financial pressure, because the funding of the JSIS system is based upon your salaries or your pensions. And we will see that there is an issue that will have to be dealt with in a couple of slides. So, if we consider what you have got to pay to your doctors or to the hospitals and what you could get back from JSIS, we see that there is a gap that might be important. And if we want to narrow this gap, this financial gap, we have got to do something. And that's the reason for which I'm going to explore with you the basics of supplementary health insurances that offer additional coverage options to supplement what is not reimbursed by JSIS. This is my short introduction. I usually start my presentation with this slide. It relates to a few points that are sometimes unknown or misunderstood. They relate to the differences between the two statuses, the status of active official and the status of retired official, well, as far as the JSIS system is concerned, of course. So active officials, as an active official, you are entitled, and we all know that, to get the JSIS coverage, and it entitles you to get a 80 or 85% reimbursements. But pay attention to that. This is the theory, because you know that there are ceilings, and that the PMO applies more and more regularly the excessivity rule. Ceilings, if you go carefully through the GIP, this is this document, a 90-page document, you will see that there are 51 medical cares for which there are ceilings. Example, physiotherapy. If you go for a session of physiotherapy, you will be reimbursed 25 euros. So if you pay 45, you will only be reimbursed 25. This is not 80 nor 85%. Then, as a retired official, as an active official, I beg your pardon, as an active official, you also benefit from the Article 73 from the staff regulation. This is very, very important, and this is a huge advantage. This article concerns the accidents. So in case of accident, you are fully reimbursed. So in case of accident, you are not reimbursed at 80 nor 85%, but you are reimbursed at 100%. This is a very, very big advantage. And when I say all the accidents, I mean accidents requiring an hospitalization, but also the accidents not requiring an hospitalization. This is very important. And on top of that, thanks to the Article 73, if following the accident you are invalid, or even worse, if you die, PMO, well, the Article 73 provides you with a capital, a lump sum, which is very, very important. In case of invalidity, you will get 8 times your annual salary or pension. And in case of death, you will get 5 times your annual salary. This is a very big advantage, the Article 73, as active officials. Then the second status, and some of you are going to be retired very soon, so this is very important to know that when you are retired, of course, the JSIS system coverage is maintained. No change concerning the reimbursements, 80-85%, pay attention, ceilings, excessivity, I will come back to that later. But unfortunately, the Article 73 is no longer applicable. So you lose the advantages of the Article 73. So once you are retired, if you don't do anything, the accidents will be covered by JSIS up to 80 or 85%. And of course, if there is an invalidity or death, there is no capital provided. So this is a big loss. And we will see in a few slides that there is a possibility, once you are retired, to subscribe to a very specific insurance contract that can fully replace this Article 73. So we understand that there is an issue to be dealt with. If we want to top up what is not reimbursed by JSIS, we have got to do something. So I told you that I will give you a few words about the ceilings and the excessivity. Then, of course, and this is the main topic of the conference, I will talk about, well, the complementary health insurances. Point 3, accident insurance to replace the famous Article 73. This is very important to know that there is a possibility on that point. And then I will talk a little bit about, well, the traveling assistance insurance. PMO asked us to talk a little bit about that, because you have got to know that if you are hospitalized abroad and need to be repatriated in your home country, in Brussels or, well, wherever you want, if you need to be repatriated, JSIS never, ever reimburse the repatriation cost, nor all the supplementary health insurances. So if you have got to be repatriated by helicopter or with a sanitary plane, with the presence of nurses, of doctors and whatever, you will have to pay that from your own pocket unless you have got a traveling assistance insurance. And this is very important to know. Ceilings and excessivity. So the theory, 80–85% reimbursement by JSIS. And of course, in case of severe illness, you have got a full reimbursement, but it's limited in time. Let's consider the last two lines of this slide. If we have a look at the statistics coming from the CGAM, we see that, for example, in 2023, the reimbursements, the global reimbursements of all the medical care costs done by JSIS was not 18 or 85%, but it was only 63.6%. We are far from having 80 or 85% reimbursements. And if we consider only the medical care costs for which there are ceilings, you know, the famous 51 medical care cost, then the reimbursements is less than 60%. So we see that there is an issue, and this is very important to keep in mind that the reimbursements are not always what we expect to have, especially if you're hospitalized or if you have got to have medical care in countries where the medical care costs are very expensive, such as Switzerland or the United States of America. Then the JSIS system. I said that the JSIS system is under financial pressure. Why? Because the funding of JSIS is based upon your salaries and or your pension on one hand, and then I will show you a slide that shows that the medical cares are, well, increasing over the years. First slide, evolution of the medical care cost. Just consider first the left part of the slides and the horizontal red arrow. We see that in Europe, the gross evolution of the medical care cost in 2024 was 10.4%, and the prediction for this year, 2025, is 8.9%. Right part of the slides, same figures without the inflation. So this is the net evolution of the medical care cost. So we see that even without the inflation in 2024, we observe a 6.7% evolution in 2024, and the same increase is projected for 2025. Why? This is very interesting to try to ask this question. Just because medical cares are becoming more and more expensive, you know, in the hospitals now they use proxies, they use robots to help the surgeons in their job. Then the medicines comes from research and development units, and all those, well, medicines and equipments are becoming more and more expensive. And of course, the hospitals and the doctors have got to take those points into considerations. Well, maybe I could add that, well, hospitals want to make money and just they add a little something just to make more money. You never know. So we see that there is a substantial increase of the medical care costs, and it's not going to change in the future, unfortunately. JSIS system and the funding of the JSIS system. You pay for the funding, for the financing of the JSIS system. You know that each month there is a levy of 1.7% taken directly from your salary. It's the same for your pension, for those of you who are almost pensioner. So there is a levy of 1.7%, and then the commission pays twice as much that money. So we see that there is a direct link between the evolution of your salaries or your pensions and the funding, the financing of the JSIS system. And we all know that the salaries of the new officials are lower than the salaries of the officials that are a little bit more older. So what does it mean? If we consider the first graph, top left, we see that, well, the contribution of the active officials in 2023 was 4,600, a bit more than 4,600 euros. And the contribution of the retired officials was 4,275 euros. What does it mean? You know, once you are retired, you don't get the same amount of money as when you are active. And if you are happy, you will get 70% of your salary. So if we see the contribution of 4,614 euros, if you multiply that amount of money by, well, 70%, you will see that the evolution, it makes roughly 3,200 euros. We see that in the future, in the next few years, well, the contribution, the global contribution of both the active and the retired officials is going to go down because the salaries are going down as well. Second graph, so lower part of the slide, we see that, well, the older you are, well, this is, well, it concerns the reimbursements done by JSIS. And we see that the reimbursements are higher if you are for the retired people than for the active officials. And this is normal. When you are young and in good health, you don't have to go too often to the doctors, you are never hospitalized, and you are, well, everything goes the right way. Unfortunately, the older you are, well, the more likely you are supposed to go to your doctors, to your physiotherapists, or even worse, to go to your hospital. And we see that there is a steep increase of the reimbursements done by JSIS for the retired officials. This slide, this one is very tricky and is very important. What do we see? The blue line refers to the funding of the JSIS system, and the red line refers to the reimbursements done by JSIS. And we see that in 2023, the reimbursements were almost at the same level as the funding of the system. So it means that we are at risk, because in the next years, it's not unlikely that the two lines will switch the other way. So we will spend more money than we are funded, and there is an issue. Fortunately, I know that PMO is well managed, and if you are a very good manager, what do you do when you see that sort of figures? You tend to apply the excessivity rule more regularly, because you don't have to spend more than you earn. So there is an issue, and this is very important to consider this slide. We don't have to be pessimistic on the other hand, because just to keep you informed, in September 2020, so a couple of months ago, JSIS had a reserve of 440 million euros. It represents approximately 10 months of reimbursements. So we are not in a critical situation, but we have got to be cautious. And we know when we saw those figures that very likely JSIS is not going to increase its reimbursements in the next years. Solution, of course, and this is the topic of the presentation, complementary health insurances. But apart from, well, this solution, you could also consider to be your own insurance company. What do I mean? I mean that you could open a bank account, a current account, or a savings account, put money aside on that account each month, certain amount of money each month, so that if something happened to you, and if you have got to pay well, medical care costs that are, well, too high, you can use that personal reserve on your bank accounts. But if you opt for that solution, how much money would you have to put aside? Because you know that medical care costs can be very, very expensive. You know, one day in hospital in intensive care cost approximately 10,000 euros. Reimbursements by this is 80%, so it means that you have got to have at least 2,000 euros at your disposal if you want to pay on your own what is missing. So how much money? So very difficult to say, but here there is a very, very important article that can apply as well an article from the staff regulation. This is the article 72, paragraph 3. Very important to know, and it can be very, very useful too. What does it say? It says that, and it's not very easy to understand, but I will show you an example just after, well, the theory. It says that over a period of 12 months, so you've got to choose to select a period of 12 months. If the part over that period of time, if the part of the amount of money not reimbursed by JSIS, so I mean the 15–20%, if the sum of all the amounts not reimbursed by JSIS is above half of your salary or your pension, then you could get back the difference if you request it by PMO. Example is going to be easier to understand. If you have got a salary of a monthly salary of 5,000 euros, half of your salary, 2,500, very easy to understand, then you have got to choose a 12 months reference period. And this is tricky because it's up to you. You have got to choose a 12 months period. Well, I took an example here. And if during that period, what is not reimbursed by JSIS is, in my example, 2,800 euros, if you request the PMO to apply this article to your own personal situation, you could get back the difference. I mean, 2,800 minus 2,500, it means it makes 300 euros if you request it. So the risk taken, the financial risk taken is half of your salary, or once you are retired, half of your pension. So the risk is limited. But you have got to ask for it, and you have got to be very cautious when you select your 12 months reference period, because depending on the period, you will reach more than half of your salary or not. So you will have to be very cautious with that. A couple of months ago, I thought that this article was never applied. I was wrong, because I got figures from Monique Breton from the CGM in Luxembourg, and according to the figures I got, in 2023, PMO reimbursed 675,000 euros to officials who requested the application of this article. So you must know that there is a possibility of getting that sort of reimbursement. This is very important to know. But the risk is half of your salary. And half of your salary can be a big amount of money as well. And we will see in a few slides that with a premium paid to an insurance company far less important, you could get a very, very, very nice cover of the major risks linked to an hospitalization. So JSIS, I give you a few words about the ceilings, the excessivity rule. The Article 72, paragraph 3, we have just talked about it. Then the health insurances to complement what is not reimbursed by JSIS. Well, I will separate, 3 points. Very often we talk about major risks. What does it mean? It means that you are hospitalized, because if you have to be hospitalized, you have to pay a lot of money. So hospitalization, this is a first category of contracts you could subscribe to that covers, the hospitalization in case of illnesses or accident. Then there are people who would like to have more than just a coverage of the hospitalization cost, but they also want to cover what are called the outpatient cares. What are the outpatient cares? I mean, the doctors, the specialists, the ophthalmologists, the radiologists, the cardiologists, the physiotherapy, the medicines, and the glasses, the dental cares. You know, all the medical care costs that are not linked to an hospitalization. And we will see that there are possibilities to also cover, those outpatient cares. Then, and this is one of my favorite products, I will give a few words about the accident insurance. for pensioner because you will lose the Article 73, and there is a possibility to replace it by a very interesting products. So how to choose an insurance? How to choose an insurance contract to complement the initial reimbursements by JSIS? I like to make a comparison with the cars. I like cars, and if you want to buy a new car, you have got to know exactly which car you want to have. Do you want to buy a car, an hybrid, an electric car, a petrol car? Do you want to buy a car just to travel downtown or to make long journeys abroad? What is the amount of money you are ready to pay for your new car? 30,000, 50,000, 80,000? You have got to know exactly what you want. This is exactly the same things you have got to apply when you want to choose a complementary health insurance. You want to know exactly what you want to have. What are the risks you want to mitigate? Do you want to cover only the hospitalization costs? I mean, the illnesses or the accidents requiring an hospitalizations, or do you want to have a full coverage, including the outpatient cares? What are you ready to pay for your insurance? Because it's not free. I keep on saying that insurance companies are not a caritative associations, and you have got to pay because they want to make money. So you will have to pay a premium to get a coverage with a complementary health insurance contract. And you will see that what you will have to pay can vary from, 60 to almost 3,000 euros, depending upon your age, upon the sort of coverage you want to have, and so on and so on and so on. So what are you ready to pay? What kind of insurance to choose? Very often we talk about, a group collective insurance or individual insurance. Well, individual insurance, we know what it is. Group collective insurance, what does it mean? A collective insurance means that there is a contract signed between an association and an insurance company, and it comes from a call of tender. So if there is a collective or group insurance, it means that initially there is a call of tender with requirements specified by an association, and if an insurance company wants to win the call of tender, they've got to stick to all the requirements mentioned in that so-called legal framework. And what is mentioned in that sort of contract? If you are a EU official, you subscribe to a contract. Can the partner subscribe to it as well? Question. If there is a collective contract, then all those tiny points are clarified from the beginning. Can the kids subscribe to the contract as well? Until what age? What is the evolution of the premium? Is the premium only linked to statistics or to your age or to your indexes? If you have got a collective contract, if there is a collective contract, you are, so to speak, protected because you know exactly where you are, where you stand, and how is the contract evolving over the years. There are two associations who sign contracts with insurance companies within the EU institutions. This is IHA, IHA establishes a contract with a Cigna insurance company, and Affiliates established a contract with Allianz insurance company. I will come back to those contracts later on as well. When do you need to subscribe the contract? Here again, I keep on telling the sooner the better. Why? Because insurance companies don't like people who are too old or people who are already ill. So the younger you are, the better. Because when you are young, you have no cholesterol, no sugar, no nothing. So you are in good health. So it's very easy to subscribe to an insurance company without having to fill in a medical questionnaire or that sort of, disturbing points. continuity of the insurance. Of course, if you sign complementary health insurance, it has to be until the end, until you are not here anymore. You have got to be sure that it's not possible for the company to kick you out. So if you have got a contract, you have got to keep it until you are not here anymore. What is the situation for the partner, for the kids, for the contractual officials? If you are a contractual official and you subscribe to an insurance contract, can you keep it after your contract is over? Yes or no? So you have got to know exactly what's going on with those very, very critical points as well. Coverage of the accidents. I will come back later to that. If you want to cover all the accidents, I mean also the accidents not implicating an hospitalization, and I come back to the famous 73, Article 73, we will see that there is a possibility. Medical questionnaire, moratorium. If you can avoid the medical questionnaire, it's better, because if there is a medical questionnaire, you have got to explain black on white all your medical history. Do you have too much sugar in your blood? Do you have cholesterol? Did you already had accidents? Did you already have to be hospitalized? Did you have a stroke? And so on and so on. You have got to explain all that black on white on a paper. And it can be very critical, because if you have been too ill in your past, if your medical history is too heavy, so to speak, the company might refuse you. They might refuse you or accept you with limitations. But we will see that if you subscribe to an insurance contract not too late, it's possible to avoid the medical questionnaire, and it's better. Then there is the moratorium. What is a moratorium? A moratorium is a period of time. If there is no medical questionnaire, very often there is a moratorium, because the insurance companies want to protect themselves against, well, exaggerations as well. A moratorium is a period of time that starts very often 2 or 3 years. And this period of time starts at the signature of your contract. And if during the moratorium, during that period of time, you have got to be hospitalized because of symptoms that already existed at the signature of the contract, then during the period of the moratorium, so very often 2 years, you are not going to be reimbursed by the insurance company. Example, you subscribe to a contract today, then after 6 months, there is a 2 years moratorium. After 6 months, you have got a stroke. Well, it might happen. You have got a stroke, then you are hospitalized, and the doctors, the surgeons detect that you had a stroke because you had a too high level of cholesterol. Then they will say you had a stroke because you had a too high level of cholesterol. It means then and they will detect that because they will test your blood, and they will say, obviously, this high level of cholesterol already existed when you signed the contracts. So they will say for 2 years, if you are hospitalized because of a stroke, you are not going to be reimbursed. But after 2 years and 1 day, even if you have got a stroke due to a high level of cholesterol, you will be fully reimbursed. Maybe we will keep the questions for the end of the presentation. So we see that if you subscribe, when I say, when do you need to subscribe? When I say the sooner the better, the sooner, it means that if you have got to follow a moratorium period, when you are young, no problems, no sanitary, no problems at all with the cholesterol, sugar, you are in good health and everything. If you have got to follow a 2 years moratorium, the moratorium is over very quickly. And when you are getting older, if something happens, you are fully covered. Other parameters to consider. Is your insurance contract valid all over the world? It's very important to know, is it valid worldwide, or are there limitations outside the European Union, or are there restrictions in certain countries? Normally, you have got to be cautious because if you have got a contract, it must be valid all over the world. But it's not the case all the time, and we have got to be cautious about that. Stability of the premium, we have got to know, of course, how the premium is going to change over the years. And of course, if it's not going to change according to your medical statistics. So the theory is over, and now I will start with the real possibilities, the real options you have to subscribe to a complementary health insurance contract. So I will start with 3 contracts proposed by Allianz Care insurance company. The first one is called HospiSafe Sickness and Accident. Second one is called HospiSafe Sickness. And the third one is called HospiSafe Plus. So I come back to the first one. HospiSafe Sickness and Accident. Top right, before retirement. If you want to subscribe to this contract, you have got to do it before your retirement date. 1 day after your retirement is 1 day too late, and it's not possible to negotiate anything with the insurance company concerning that point. Before retirement. And at least, and well, ideally 6 months before retirement, because there is a medical questionnaire. But if you subscribe to those contracts at least 6 months before retirement, you can avoid the medical questionnaire. So if you're interested in that contract, before retirement and ideally 6 months before retirement. The name of the contract, HospiSafe Sickness and Accidents. It means that you would be fully reimbursed in case of sicknesses or accidents leading to an hospitalization. So if you want to be reimbursed with this contract, you have got to be hospitalized. If you are not hospitalized, you are not going to get a supplementary insurance from the insurance company. There is no medical questionnaire. If you subscribe to it at least 6 months before retirement, there is a 2 years moratorium. Of course, if there is no medical questionnaire, well, there must be a protection for the insurance company. This is a lifelong insurance, and as I told you, it covers both illnesses and accidents leading to an hospitalization. And you are fully reimbursed, 100% without a restriction, even if JSIS applies while ceilings or the excessivity rule in certain cases. This is very well, of course, if you subscribe to it, your partner can be affiliated as well as the kids. Very important to say. This insurance is valid worldwide, so you can be hospitalized wherever you want, and you will be reimbursed. But attention, pay attention to that. There are limitations outside the European Economic Area. The reimbursements will be limited to 25,000 euros per person per year if you are hospitalized and outside the European Economic Area. So they will reimburse you everything up to 100%, what is not reimbursed by JSIS. But once you reach the limit of 25K per year, you are not going to be reimbursed anymore. So if you have got this contract, I would recommend you not to be hospitalized in Switzerland or in the United States of America, because in those countries where the medical care costs are very expensive, you might reach, well, this 25K ceiling very quickly. So this is a very, very interesting insurance contract, providing you stay within the European Economic Area. Then it's not free. It's not free, and you see that if you are 61 plus, you will have to pay an annual premium of 291 euros. If you are younger, the premium is going to be less, of course. Evolution of the premium, very important to know, because this is a collective insurance, so we know exactly how the premium is going to change over the years. Well, it depends upon your age bracket, of course, but each year Allianz applies the Eurostat index. So each year you will have an increase of 3-4%, depending upon the evolution of the indexes. Then I have to mention that in the collective, well, it was a 10 years collective contract signed in 2019, valid for 10 years. And in this contract, Allianz mentioned that after 5 years, they might apply what was called a technical revision. And in the beginning, we thought that they would never ever apply that technical revision. But once the fifth year arrived, and I meant it was last year, the end of last year, they decided to apply that technical revision. And that's the reason for which in 2025, we observed a 10% increase of the premiums in comparison with the evolution of the previous year. This is not a very positive point, but it was mentioned in the collective contract, and Allianz had the right to apply it. How is going the premium change in the next few years? Normally, it will only be linked to the Eurostat index, but I read once a mail according to which there might be another technical revision. I asked Allianz to get information about it, but I've never received any answer yet. Then here, so you've got to be hospitalized. Just one little point. The accidents that are covered here are only the accidents requiring an hospitalization. So this is not the equivalent of the Article 73 that retired people lose. Pay attention to that. Then second contract, also from Allianz Care, Hospice Sickness. I will be very quick on this contract because it's exactly the same as the previous one, but the accidents are not covered anymore. Here, you will be only covered in case of sicknesses leading to an hospitalization. This contract might be very useful for active officials as well, because as an active official, you know that all the accidents are covered, but as an active official, if you have got to be hospitalized because of an illness, for example, pneumonia or COVID-19 or whatever, if you have, or a stroke, if you have got to be hospitalized because of an illness, with this contract, even for active officials, you are fully covered. All the other points are exactly the same as for the previous contract, and the premium, because it's not free either, the premium, if you are 61 plus, the premium is 214 euros. So a little bit more expensive, normal, because the accidents are not covered anymore. Third contract, Hospice Plus. What does it mean? So always before retirement, same company, Allianz, so same rules and whatever. So what does that mean, Hospice Plus? It means actually Hospice illness and accident, like the first contract I talked about, plus the plus option. And the plus option is related to the outpatient cares. So with this contract, if you are hospitalized because of an illness or an accident, you will be fully covered, 100%. But here, on top of that, full coverage in case of hospitalization, you have got a supplementary coverage for the outpatient cares. Unfortunately, the outpatient cares are not going to be covered at 100%, but Allianz will only reimburse you 80% of what is not reimbursed by JSIS. Example, I talked about, well, the physiotherapy sessions, well, in the beginning of my presentation. If you pay 45 euros to your physiotherapist, you will be reimbursed 25 by JSIS because there are ceilings. 45 minus 25, it makes 20. If you have got this contract, the 20 you have got to pay from your big pocket will become 20 multiplied by 80%. It means 16. So you will be reimbursed 16 euros by Allianz, and you will have just to pay 4 euros from your own pocket. So this is quite interesting to know the outpatient cares are reimbursed. But, because there is always a but, especially for the outpatient cares. Outpatient cares can be very, very expensive also for the insurance companies, and especially if you consider the dental cares. If you have got to have implants or if you have got to go to your dentist quite regularly, you know that those costs, those dental medical care costs are very expensive. So the insurance company, Allianz Insurance Company, wants to protect itself against, well, having to reimburse too much money concerning the dental cares. And they put ceilings. They put ceilings on the dental cares. So the ceiling on the dental care is 3,200 euros after 4 years of being insured. 800 euros the first 2 years, 1,600 the third year, and from the fourth years on, 3,200 euros. So you will get a reimbursement of 80% of the difference, reimbursement JSIS, up to 3,200 euros. So this is a ceiling that is quite annoying, especially if you have got to undergo very heavy dental cares. But, well, this is how it works with this insurance. Then there is another limitation, and the other limitation concerns the specialists, the medicines, well, all the other medical care costs, the outpatient medical care costs, except the physiotherapy, and the limitation is 1,250 euros per year per person. So this is a tough limitation as well, because if you have got to go very regularly to specialists because you are in a bad health situation, you might reach those limits quite quickly, and then you will have to know whether it's relevant to have this contract or not. Then it's not free, you have got to pay a premium, and when you see the amount you have got to pay to get this contract, if you are 61 plus, it makes 2,141 euros. It means that there is a huge difference with the first contract I mentioned. So the first contract, Hospice, illness and accident, it was 290. Here you are at 141 euros. So you pay approximately 1,800 euros more just to have the plus the outpatient care coverage, knowing that there are ceilings for the outpatient care coverage. So if you want to choose this product, you have got to know exactly what you sign for, because it's not cheap. The first two contracts are very, very interesting. They are very interesting product. This one, well, has got constraints that have to be known when you sign it. Then we quit Allianz and we go to Cigna, another insurance company. And this company, they propose two contracts, hospitalization, sickness and accident, and hospitalization, sickness only. There is sort of a parallelism with Allianz. So hospitalization, sickness, accident, hospitalization, sickness, there is no plus option with Cigna. Well, here you have got to be hospitalized. Attention, top right, for retired people. This is a contract available for retired people, and I see that there is a little mistake on my slide. It's for pensioner, and you can subscribe to it until the age of 69. It was 67 until 1 month ago, but Cigna changed this rule, and now it's 69. It's 69 years of age. So if you forgot to subscribe to Allianz, with this contract, there is another possibility to get a very, very interesting contract that covers sicknesses and accidents leading to an hospitalization. So here again, you have got to be hospitalized to be reimbursed. This is a collective insurance, so for pensioner until the age of 69. Here, unfortunately, there is a medical questionnaire in all cases, but I can be relatively optimistic because the medical questionnaire here is not too invasive. Of course, you have got to say if you had previous, well, operations, etc., etc., but you don't have to talk about your mental health, about your, you know, all those disease like a burnout. So it's the medical questionnaire is softer. So this is a very good product. And here again, if you are hospitalized, you are fully reimbursed. So the reimbursement is 100%. Attention, there are slight differences with the reimbursements done by Allianz. Here, you will get a 100% reimbursement all over the world. So there are no limitations outside the economic European area. So here it's valid all over the world without restrictions. But the reimbursements done by Cigna will only be up to what is already reimbursed by JSIS. Example, if JSIS reimburse you 60% because you had to undergo surgery in a country with a high medical care cost, 60%. So the 40% remaining will be fully reimbursed by Cigna. But if for any reasons JSIS only reimburse you 45%, so I mean less than 50%, you will be reimbursed with Cigna only 45% as well. So maximum of what is already reimbursed by JSIS. I mean 45% plus 45%, it makes 90. So with this contract, if JSIS reimburse you less than 50%, you will have to pay a certain amount of money from your own pocket. You have got to know that. And then there is a premium to pay, and the premium, if it's fixed for all the pensioner, it's 353 euros per year. And the increase, if you compare the increase of the premium with the premium you had to pay last year, there is a 7% increase in the premium. Allianz, they increased the premium by 10%. Here it's 7%. Second contract, and it's going to be very quick for me as well. Hospitalization, sickness only. So exactly the same contract, but here only the sicknesses leading to an hospitalization are covered. The accidents are not covered anymore. Then you will tell me if you are retired, why would be the reason to subscribe to this product and not the previous one? Because as a retired official, you lose the benefit of the Article 73. So this contract might be more useful than this one. But don't forget that the accidents covered with the hospitalization, sickness, and accident contract only covers the accidents leading to an hospitalization. And in a few slides, I will show you a product specifically designed for the accidents that cover all the accidents. And sometimes people combine two contracts, this one or hospice safe sickness for the illnesses, and then another contract very specific for the accident. Then what you have got to pay attention to as well. I'm going to be very quick. This is a contract, and I will give you a few words about it. Europath Insurance from Expat & Co. Let's go very quickly through it. Individual insurance, so there is no legal framework, there is no collective contract, no medical questionnaire. Wonderful. You don't have to explain black and white all your medical problems or issues. There is a moratorium, or 2 to 3 years. Well, it's a bit tricky. Is it 2 or 3? Well, it depends upon the insurance company, but it's not very clear. Normally it's 2 or 3, but here they can decide. It's up to them to choose between 2 or 3 when they see you. Subscription up to the age of 70. Wonderful. You forget, the other insurance contracts, you still have got the possibility to subscribe to this contract until the age of 70. Wonderful. Lifelong insurance. Wonderful. And there are 2 possibilities. Module 1, it means hospitalization in case of illnesses or accident. And option 1+2, it means that the outpatient cares are also included. But this is not the point I would like to mention here. Last 2 lines. moratorium of unprecise duration. This is a first red signal, because is it 2 or 3? Well, it's a bit annoying. This is a red signal. Second red signal, when you sign this contract, you've got to know that there is the possibility for the insurance company to close the contract at any time. You can be kicked out of the contract without justification by the insurance company. So if you subscribe to this contract, you are kicked out. What do? Because there is no other possibilities. Pay attention to that. Then it's not free, of course. So you've got to pay an amount of money. And if you want to have the full options, and if you are, 70, you will see that you have got to pay, almost 3,000 euros a year as a premium. But this is not the point I would like to mention. This slide is very tricky. When you sign this contract, and the second point is very, very tricky and annoying. When you sign the contract, you declare to be healthy and you do not intend to have surgery, medical or dental treatment, or to be hospitalized in the near future, as far as you know at the moment of the signature of the application form. What does it mean? It means that you have this contract, you are hospitalized because bad luck, you have got to be hospitalized. Then, of course, you will be fully reimbursed by the insurance company because they are honest and they have got to apply, the lines of the contract. Then 1 year later, you are hospitalized again for another, problems. What will happen at the time? It means you will get a letter and you will be kicked out. So in the event of repeated claims, with this sort of contracts, you will lose the benefit of the insurance and you have no other solutions to help you. So if there are repeated claims, pay attention, and this is not the contract you should go for as an EU official, especially if you are close to retirement or if you are already retired. This contract might be useful for young people, young students who have got to spend 1 year abroad in a university, and they've got to have an insurance coverage required by the university just to benefit from an Erasmus exchange. And then, it's a good option for young people. And then when you are back to your home country, you forget about the contract. And that's all. Then a few words concerning this product. This is a product proposed by Foyer Global Health. This is a company based in Luxembourg, but they proposed contracts, insurance contracts, valid all over the world, and you can subscribe to it even if you are resident in Belgium or in Italy or whatever. This is quite an interesting product as well. This is a global insurance. I mean, both the hospitalizations in case of illnesses or accidents are covered, as well as the outpatient cares. This is very nice product. There is a medical questionnaire in all cases, but the medical questionnaire is very similar to the one proposed by Cigna, so it's not too invasive into your medical life. There is no moratorium, no waiting period. You can subscribe to it up to the age of 65 years. 65 means 65. This is not the age of your retirement or not your retirement. This is your administrative age. It's valid worldwide. It's valid worldwide, except in the US. Very strange, but they do not insure you if you are resident in the United States of America. I know the reason for that. It's because, medical cares in the US are too expensive, and this company has got problems to be reimbursed by the reinsurance companies in the United States of America. But this is not the point. The tricky point here is that you are not fully reimbursed. You will get 20% reimbursement in all cases. So, I mean, if you are initially reimbursed 80 or 85% by JSIS, with this contract, you will have a full coverage, 100%. But if for any reason JSIS reimburse you less than 80%, the difference between 80 and what you are really reimbursed would be for you. And I've got many appointments, many meetings with the sales managers from Foyer Global Health, because I try to convince them to change this rule, this 20% rule, at least for the hospitalization cost. So if they could withdraw this limitation of 20%, at least for the hospitalization, not for the outpatient cares, because we know that the outpatient cares are very expensive. So that's normal that there are limitations. It would become a very interesting products. Attention, here there are no global ceilings for the dental care, for the specialists. There are no global ceilings, such as, well, what is mentioned in HospiceSafe Plus from Allianz, but there are some local, so to speak, ceiling, individual ceiling, especially for the dental implants, for certain fertility treatments, and so on and so on. So for certain medical care acts, there are ceilings, but there are no global ceilings concerning the dental cares and the outpatient cares as a whole. So this contract, if you want to have a full coverage, you might consider this contract as well. And the evolution of the premium you had to pay in 2025 is exactly the same as the premium you had to pay last year. But, well, this is very positive, because it means that the insurance company is well managed, and then they are not too greedy. But they told me that probably next year there will be an evolution, of course, because they are not caritative association, as I already mentioned that. Well, there are some other contracts, but I'm not going to talk about them. Excessivity, exclusion, you will be always reimbursed if you are initially reimbursed by JSIS. If JSIS for any reason decides not to reimburse you for any reasons, then the supplementary health insurance contracts will never reimburse you anything either. So you've got to know that. Excessivity, not considered by the insurance company. So if they say that you are fully reimbursed, even if JSIS applies the excessivity rule, you will be fully reimbursed, especially with the Cigna and Allianz contract. Attention, with Foyer EU Health, there is the 20% limitation. Then I talked a lot about hospitalization. What does it mean? Of course, if you are 3 days in intensive cares, we imagine that this is an hospitalization. But very often I'm asked, what about the one-day hospital? Is a one-day hospital an hospitalization or not? I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to be the one who decides that. JSIS will decide that. And if JSIS decides that it is an hospitalization, then you will see on the split you will get back from JSIS that the code will start with the 2. So if the code that appears on your JSIS split starts with a 2, it means that it is an hospitalization. So if you are really hospitalized and if there is a mistake within JSIS, it might appear, not very often, but it might appear. You know, mistakes can happen. You never know. You have got to ask them to change the codification of the split. And if the insurance company sees that the code starts with a 2, they won't investigate further. You will be fully reimbursed immediately. Then my favorite products, the accident insurance. So you know that once you are retired, you will lose the benefit of the accident of the Article 73. So the accidents are not going to be fully covered. And in case of invalidity or death, you are not going to get a lump sum, a capital, just to help you modifying your house, or, you know, you never know what can happen. Here, this is a very interesting contract. This is a contract proposed by Cigna, the same insurance company as the one who proposed 2 contracts already. And this is an insurance contract that covers all the accidents, those accidents leading to an hospitalization, but also the accidents not leading to an hospitalization. So this is really the equivalent of the Article 73. And it's valid worldwide. So it's valid worldwide with no limitation. And then you will be fully reimbursed. And then you see that there are three options, A, B, and C. As all the medical care costs are fully reimbursed, what are the differences between the three options proposed? It's the capital put at your disposal in case of bad issues. And we see that with the C option, the C formula, in case of invalidity, you will get 8 times your annual pension. In case of death, you will get 5 times your annual pension. The C options is the real equivalent of the Article 73. There are two other options, A and B, that covers completely the medical care costs, but that offers a capital less important. And it's not free, you will have to pay a premium. And here, this is not a fixed premium, depending upon your age or whatever, but this is a percentage of your pension. And if you want to have the C option, you will have to pay 1.06% each month on your pension. And if you have got a pension of 5,000 euros a month, the annual premium will be 695 euros if you opt for the C option. If you are less greedy and if you opt for the A option, then you will have to pay a premium of 360 euros, provided you have got a 5,000 euros pension. If your pension is 2,000, of course, the premium is going to be lower. If your pension is 10,000 euros a month, then you will have to pay more. It's expensive. It's more expensive than the coverage of the accident options with HospiSafe or hospitalization from SIGDA. But here, don't forget that all the accidents are covered, including those not requiring an hospitalization. And unfortunately, I have met many EU officials, retired EU officials. Once you are retired, unfortunately, you might slip on the soap in the bathroom very easily, or you can have an accident in the stairs, or very often you might have little, stupid accidents, not requiring an hospitalization, but with sometimes heavy consequences. And with this contract, you are fully covered in all cases, and you might get a capital. Attention, at the age, even if you subscribe to the C or the B option at the age of 75, it's not mentioned on the slide, even with the B or C options at the age of 75, you will be switched to the A option in all cases. Why? Because the insurance company knows that at the age of 75, you are more likely to slip on the carpet or on the soap in the bathroom. So they want to prevent them from having to pay too high level of capitals. This is a very interesting product. It can be combined with HospiSafe sickness or with hospitalization sickness, and the combination of the two contracts can be very useful. And if you want the outpatient cares be covered, then you have got to switch to HospiSafe Plus or Foyer EU Health. So death and disability, I'm not going to talk to that because I talked a lot already. Traveling insurance. So I say it again, if you are traveling abroad, medical care costs, repatriation costs will never ever be reimbursed. So if you are regularly traveling abroad, even if you are not regularly traveling abroad, but if you are traveling abroad, in case of accidents or illnesses, if you have to be hospitalized and need to be repatriated, you have got to have to subscribe to a traveling assistant insurance. There are a lot of possibilities available on the market. There are many insurance companies. Here I mentioned Europe Assistance. Why? Because it's valid worldwide, and if you change your resident country, if you subscribe to it while resident in Belgium, if tomorrow you are resident again back and you are back in Italy or in Sweden or well in your home country, the contract follows you. But here, what do we see? We see that the repatriation costs are included, as well as the medical care costs in case you have to be hospitalized. Just one point that is important on this slide, the amount of money that is guaranteed, the capital that is guaranteed. Here you see bottom left, 1 million euros. If you subscribe to a traveling assistance insurance, be sure that the capital insured be at least 1 million euros. Because if you have got to be hospitalized in intensive cares for 2 weeks in the States, then have got to be repatriated with a sanitary plane, it might cost you a lot of money. And with a capital of 1 million euros, you are sure that you will be repatriated safe and sound, and then your family will take care of you once you are back in your home country. There are many options available on the market. In Belgium, Touring Club is very good. Touring Club has no limitation in the capital provided. ATS is very good as well. There are many, many other options, but pay attention. Sometimes banks offers that sort of traveling assistance with a very, very limited capital put at your disposal, sometimes 5,000 or 25,000 euros. It's nonsense. It's useless. So pay attention to the capital that is put at your disposal. Then Cristiano and Dikra will distribute a working document. I talked a lot about, well, different products. Well, all those products are, well, mentioned and are explained with a lot more details in the document that is available. You can see this document on the website of the SEPS, or Dikra or Cristiano will send you a copy of it, on top of, well, a copy of the slides that I presented to you. Then I'm not going to tell you too much about that, but if you go on the internet, on the Affiliatis website and on the IHA website, you will see that those two associations propose, well, general information and in certain cases appointments if you want to expand some very specific individual, well, cases. So go on their website and you will see what's happening. Then if you want to subscribe to a contract, there are two options. Either you do that online on the website, but I've got to tell you that the Allianz website is not very user-friendly. So if you want to, and if you are interested in the Allianz Care contracts, so the HospiceF contracts, you can go to a broker here in Brussels, Willink. They are located, well, in front of the Stokely Palace in Avenue de Tervuren. They are very professional, very efficient, or to Van Breda Risk and Benefit. Just one point. If you go to Willink, to subscribe to an Allianz contract. You know, I like cars. If you are interested to buy a Volkswagen, don't go to an Alfa Romeo salesperson, because they are not going to promote the Volkswagen. So here it's the same. If you go to Willink, don't ask to Willink to subscribe to a Signa product or to Foyer UL's product, because they won't get any commission on those products. So Willink for Allianz Care. Then for Signa, you can do that very easily online, or you can even call, well, this number in Antwerpen, in Anvers, and their website is very user-friendly, contrary to the one of Allianz. And if you are interested in Foyer Global Health, so the famous EUL's contract, which are still under negotiation, and this is a very good contract as well, you can contact directly the insurance company in Luxembourg and the sales manager, and he will give you all the information needed, and he will send you, well, the different documents you have got to fill in if you are interested in. So I think that my presentation is over. I thank you very much for your attention, and don't hesitate to use the chat to ask your questions, if any. Will be very happy to help you with your issues. And I've got to thank also Cristiano and Dikra for having allowed me to present this topic today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you, Jean-Pierre. I think that you didn't see how many questions are on the chat, so when you were ready to answer, because we got a lot of questions. I mean, first of all, we have been more than 400, so that means and can just justify how important is this kind of conference that we normally have. I will just answer to the basic question. Yes, we are sharing the slides. Yes, the recording of the conference will be put on our YouTube channel. You will get the address of that. We will share also the document that Jean-Pierre had just mentioned. If you got to the last conference, you already see, I think it was 200 question and answer that we were dealing with at that time. And I see some recurrent questions, so you will find the answer there. You will also see that we just not want to limit ourselves to answer to your question in the chat, because we know that you can have some specific needs and special needs to be discussed. And we are always at your disposal for organizing meetings, personal, one-to-one, with colleagues who are in charge of this contract. You have seen also that as R&D, we have decided to support the contract proposed by Affiliatis. Doesn't mean that we don't trust the rest. I mean, as Jean-Pierre has mentioned, even any contract has so pros and cons. We have just considered that those proposed by Affiliatis were the most interesting for our staff, but it depends on your age, on your conditions, or your composition of your family. So all the contact at your disposal, we can also try to put you in contact with those who are in charge. I've seen the question, why do we have to go for a courtier? Just because some colleagues are just lost in the website, and that's why the request to have someone for getting us an interface has been mentioned, but you can, of course, directly go to the website or directly go to Affiliatis that would help, or to the SEPs that will help you on dealing with this contract. So I don't know if we can just get some question, Jean-Pierre. It would be difficult to decide which questions are more relevant. I mean, for the travel assistance, I think that Jean-Pierre was quite clear. I just invite you to check what is covered by your credit card. Sometimes it's enough, sometimes not. You have to pay your travel with your credit card if you want to be covered, otherwise they are just going to refuse. And when I mention you have to pay all the travel, means all the travel, all expenses. I've been experienced with colleagues who have paid the flight and not the hotel, and the company has refused. So it's important to look and to read what is on your credit card condition. I will try to find something. Perhaps one question, Jean-Pierre. For the colleagues who are just a contract is not open-ended, after the end of their contract for themselves or for the family, is there any insurance that we could eventually suggest? There is any possibility to be covered when the coverage of the JSIS is over, or once the coverage of JSIS is over, the contract is also over?
This is a very good question. If you subscribe to, well, the Alliance or Cigna or Foyer UL's contract, so you have to know that those contracts are based upon first JSIS reimbursements. If for any reason you lose the JSIS system or you are not covered by JSIS anymore, such as the kids, you know, the kids, when they are kids, they are covered by JSIS, but at one time they become grown-ups and they are not going to be covered by JSIS. But in this case, the insurance contracts can be kept, but the reimbursements will be based upon theoretical initial reimbursements made by JSIS. Example, if the kid has got hospice, so normally hospitalization, it's 100% reimbursement. Let's imagine that JSIS would reimburse 75%. It means that Allianz will cover the 25% missing. If the kid has got an individual, well, doesn't benefit from JSIS anymore, but well, a local insurance, Belgian or an Italian insurance, and the initial insurance reimburse only 60%, it means that the difference between 60 and the theoretical 75% reimbursement would have been done by JSIS is at your charge. So you can keep the contracts, but depending upon your initial primary insurance, the reimbursements might not be complete. For those who are resident in Luxembourg, well, you have got the CNS, Caisse Nationale de Santé, which is very, very similar to JSIS. So if you benefit from the CNS coverage, initial coverage, you are going to be fully covered in any cases. I saw one question on the on the chat. What about, well, the other insurances, DKV, and so on, ETIAS, and so on? It's a very good question as well. Those insurance contracts are very good, but the thing is that you have got to stay in the country where you signed the contract. For example, if you sign a DKV contract with DKV Belgium here in Brussels, if you decide to go back to your home country in Italy or in Sweden or in Slovakia or whatever, you will lose the benefit of your contract, unfortunately. So those contracts are tricky because you have to stay in the country where you signed the contract. The contract doesn't follow you, which is not the case with the Allianz contracts, with the Signa contracts, and with Foyer Global Health contracts. If you change country, the contract follows you. DKV, it's not the same, so pay attention to that.
I think there is another question that is quite recurrent, is about what happens when the kids become not dependent member and they are therefore not covered by JSIS.
Yeah, this is what I explained. If the kids are covered by a national first insurance, such as INAMI in Belgium, then the reimbursements will be based upon a theoretical initial reimbursements made by JSIS. So if the national insurance reimburse less than JSIS, then the difference between the reimbursements by the national insurance and the theoretical reimbursements that would have been done by JSIS is going to be for the kids' own pocket, unfortunately.
Okay, I mean, first, as I promise, all the questions will be dealt with because the conference is recorded and the question is also recorded. As last time, we will rely on the support of our specialists in order to provide you with a specific answer to your specific question. But I'm sure that looking at the document that will be shared, the conference that will be on our YouTube channel, and also the questions that have already been answered, you will find, of course, most of your answers. Nevertheless, again, this conference is not just stopping our service. We are going to help you also on an individual basis. You could send a message to us and we can get in contact with you, with the specialist. In any case, at the end of the presentation that is going to be shared, you have already find all the address and names of the person that you could get in contact with, because it's important also to have sometimes a personal rendezvous. We are going to hold the conference second half of April in French, because I know that sometimes language can be an obstacle for getting understanding everything. But already on our website and YouTube, you will find the French version of the conference that has been organized. I can only thank you for attending so many our meeting. If you have not yet voted, perhaps it's time to do it. You have just 2 days more to vote voting. It's important to get your support for us if you think that we deserve it. In any case, most of the colleagues that are voting more, the administration will respect the trade unions and staff representation. So it's also in your interest to have a staff representation able to stand for your rights. And I can only thank again Jean-Pierre for the wonderful presentation and for what he's doing in order to help our colleagues, because I know that after this meeting, most of the colleagues, we realize how important it is to take care of our health also through an insurance, because unfortunately, JSIS is a wonderful system, but it cannot cover everything. And sometimes cost can be really, really expensive. It can be a disaster if you are not provided with an insurance. So reflect upon, choose the best product, select based on your salary, on your needs, or your evolution of your career. And as Jean-Pierre has mentioned, as soon as it's better, because when you get old, insurance are not going to make gift. Thank you very much again, and see you soon. Bye-bye.